My name's Redneck. I'm an addict. And, I can start by, I knew I was an addict before I even picked up the drug because I was raised in orphanages and foster homes. So from an early age, I knew what the feeling of unworthiness was. The feeling like I was a piece of shit, that, I didn't matter, nobody wanted me. And so that got me started with the pain part. And then from the time I was about 9 to 11 years old, I was molested by a member in the family I was living with. So the pain got even worse. Well, I started getting high shortly after that. What happened when I started getting high, I found out that pain that I was feeling from feeling unworthy and feeling about what this guy did to me, it kind of, I lost it. So when I found out when I quit getting high, that pain came back. So of course at an early age, and I was probably about 12 years old, 13 years old, and I was off to the races. I thought I found something that I really loved. And I remember just as a teenager, I was doing stuff that just teenagers shouldn't do. And I'm going back, quite a few years ago, where back then we didn't do the stuff the kids are doing now. But I was finding ways of doing these things, and I was finding new ways of getting high because it covered up that pain inside of me. I think the first time since I got high that I kind of straightened out a little bit is 17. I joined the Marine Corps, and I was good for a couple years because there you couldn't do drugs, plain and simple. But I went from the drugs to drinking, and I was a 17-year-old kid, and I could get into bars anywhere I was at. So I went straight from the drugs right into the alcohol, and then I found out how you women could ruin my life too. So see, I'm an addict. It don't matter if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's sex, if it's gambling, if it's violence. I go for it full force, and I overdo everything I get involved in. And I started having kids shortly after that, and I thought, well, man, maybe this is the first time that I'm going to be the best father there ever was. I'm going to be the best husband there ever was. But this disease don't care, And I was good for a year or two, and I remember I started heading back out. I didn't slowly get into it. I just jumped right back into the hole. And my second daughter was born, and I thought I'm going to do it again. You know what? I messed up. I got to be able to handle this. I got 2 young girls. I got to get my head out of my ass and do this right. And them 2 beautiful little girls didn't do nothing because I was right back into it again. And I stayed that way for so many years. And at the same time, because of my addiction, I was getting in trouble with the law. And what I would do is I'd move from state to state, and whatever people say, well, what's your drug of choice? And mine was more. It didn't matter what it was whatever area I was in, that's what I did. Whatever I can get hold of easier in that area, that's what I did. Once I got in a little bit of trouble and either somebody's husband or the law was looking for me, I'd just pick up and I'd run to another state. And I've done that for close to 20 years, Again, my daughter's growing up without my father, not knowing who I was. Then I had my third daughter, and I don't want to say a mistake, but I had no idea she was even, the girl was even pregnant. I found out she was 3.5 years old, and I got served a paper that I had a daughter in California. At the time, I was so far gone, and at the time I was smoking crack, and that was that area. That was what was big in that area. That was my first sign that something was wrong. I knew something was wrong because I was doing so much of this stuff that I should not be walking. And I remember, I didn't know to ask for help because, as I was taught, men are supposed to be macho. We're not supposed to show our emotions. We're not supposed to go and tell somebody that we have a problem. You just deal with it. So I remember one day I was in a trailer and I was so high, but the pain, what happened now is I was getting high to stop the pain, but the drugs wasn't stopping the pain no more. I get high and high and the pain was even worse. This was my first attempt at suicide. I had a double-barrel shotgun, and I put the butt of it down at my feet, and I pulled both triggers. I had the barrel in my mouth, and I pulled both triggers, and both barrels went off. But it slipped out of my mouth, and it just kind of whizzed by my side of my head. I put the gun down, and I did call somebody, and they came and got me. But back then they figured if you were smoking crack, then let's get you into something else and get you off the crack. So I went from crack to speed and marijuana. it was just, and then still at the time running from the law, you know. And I met my wife, my present wife now, and that's after like 3 or 4 wives at that point. But I met my present wife now, and I remember, you know, I met her the first night I met her. I got off work, I had no money. I was hiding from the law. I was living in a safe house. I met her at this club, this bar, and I remember her getting out of the car. And here I just got off the roof. I'm nasty, had no money in my pocket, but I told her, I said, look, I got to tell you something. I had no money. She bought me a couple drinks, and I told her, I said, look, I'm running from the law, blah, blah, blah. This is my story. And she moved me from one house to another, and then she just left. I thought, well, I'll never see her again. And lo and behold, that was almost 20 years ago now. And but during that time, she told me, you know, you need to figure. I left Jersey because we were in Delaware at the time. I left Jersey because I wanted to get away from this stuff. You know, you're in it as deep as when I was in it when I was in Jersey. So I went back and turned myself in, went back to jail for a little while. I got out, and from that point, I never got in trouble with the law anymore. Got put on probation, had to do everything I was supposed to do. Stopped doing the hard stuff for a while because, see, with me, I figured I was strong because when things got so bad, I moved to another state and I wouldn't do no hard drugs, but I just smoked pot and drank. I figured I wasn't an addict then because I quit all the hard stuff, you know. And I was on probation. I did everything I was supposed to do. Once I got to that point where, of course, nowadays our kids know how to do it too, is we can get over to probation officers. I got on probation and I went right back to it, you know. Moved to Jersey, and my last run was actually was only like 3-4 months long, but it was the worst one ever. And my wife is from the street. My wife is from the streets of Trenton, so you know she knew all this stuff, and this is how good addicts are. And I manipulated her so bad she had no idea what I was doing. Doctors diagnosed me with bipolar and ADHD. The medication they were giving me, I had the same side effects of the drugs I was doing. So I take the pill, I throw it away, and I keep getting high. I didn't have nobody sitting across the table telling me, you know, we can help you, we can do this, this is what we need to do. Again, I was so macho and thought I could do it, and, you know, I'm not going to go tell nobody I'm weak. I'm a strong man, I can, you know. Well, I was so strong that I couldn't take the pain no more, and I was standing on the table with a noose around my neck, jumping off the table trying to snap my neck. Because the pain was so bad at that time, and I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't even getting high no more. I was putting so much drugs in my body and so much garbage in my body, but it wasn't stopping the pain. I wasn't getting high anymore. And I knew the pain was so hard, the only thing I knew was death, you know. And I tried so many times. And that was my first sign that there really is a God, because I am not lying when I tell you that I did it 4 times, and each time I hit the floor on my feet. I looked around and there was more slack in the rope than and I looked the slack out. See, to me, that's God. That's definitely God. After that, my wife found out about what I was actually doing, and she kicked me. She left me a note and told me to leave. And, you know, you're a cokehead and you're this and you're this. She took my wallet, took my phone, took everything, and told me I had to leave. So I never got high in the house. And I remember that day. What I had left, I figured I'll fix her, man. I just dumped everything out on our kitchen table and I did it right there. And then she come pulling in the driveway with her brother, and there's a van behind her. And I'm thinking, oh, what's this about? So I walk out, and the van was a crisis center. The guy said, little guy, he was a little bitty short guy too, and he came out and he goes, we wanted to take you back to the hospital and have a doctor evaluate you. And I said, yeah, I'll follow you up there. And he goes, no, we're going to take you in our van. I said, I ain't going. You know, and I don't know, there's a few words, and I said, well, look, dude, I said, how about this? I said, you take the van back to the hospital, and you fill it up with a bunch of people, and then come back, and maybe well, lo and behold, you know, he goes, well, how about them? And there were 6 Hamilton cops. I didn't know Hamilton had cops that big. There were 6 and it's funny, but they come walking in my driveway, and they talked to me, and I was going to be a hard ass, and I was high as a kite, and you know, I'm thinking, you guys are going to hurt me before I go. But I ended up going, and it was the most degrading thing that I ever had done to me, because they literally strapped me down, my feet down to a gurney, my hands down to my neck, my head, everything was strapped down, and that's how I went to treatment. And because I remember when I got there, I still didn't, at that point, I was mad at my wife. I said, you screwed up. You called the cops on me. I said, wait till I get out. And I said, you're done. You're done. And I went to rehab, and I was the nastiest person. You know, they wanted to come and take vitals. I told them no, you know. I shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. It took me 3 days. I was in there for 3 days, and this is what showed me, you know what, there's something wrong. You're going to die. And I didn't want to die, but I had the same amount of drugs in my system, in my blood, than I did the first day I went in there. And that's how, and they told me my heart literally should have exploded. And I remember my oldest daughter called me while I was in there, and one of my wife's girlfriends called me and said, you know what, just accept the help. You know, do what you got to do. Still didn't believe in what was going on, but I listened. And I listened to what was going on. I participated, I talked. And the only thing they told me when I got out is go to a meeting. That was it. So I got out, I had $72 in my pocket. I had a restraining order against me. I wasn't allowed back at my house. And so I went back, I got my truck. It was packed with all my stuff. And I left. And I remember going over to see I wanted to see my godson. And I had $72 in my pocket, and I was going to go get high, you know. But I went to stop and see my godson, and his mom said, you know, I have a friend that goes to meetings. I don't know what kind she goes to, but I'll call her. So this lady came over and took me to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I remember getting there, and everybody was coming up wanting to hug, and I'm going down to, I'm like, I said, just stay away. And that's what we do in NA, is we hug. Nah, you know, I didn't even want the women hugging me, so you know I was sick. But the point is I was sick. I was really sick. But for some reason, and I know today it was God again, they said just keep coming back. You know, and I still came back every day. Didn't want to hug you, but I came back. And I'm looking around and I'm going, there's no way in hell that you guys did what I did. There's no way that you lived the life that I lived and you guys are telling me you ain't getting high. That's bullshit. So I kept coming back because I was going to prove them wrong. I wanted to find a group that went home after the meeting and got high and then came back the next day to go to a meeting again to fool everybody. And I kept looking for them people. I never did. Today I still ain't found them. But my point is I just sat and listened. But I didn't do what they told me to do. And I went every day, 7 days a week. I didn't open my mouth up. I didn't want you to talk to me. I didn't want no friends. But I went every day. And it was probably 3.5, 4 months before I was allowed to come back to my house. And I still kept going to meetings. But something was pulling me. And I wasn't getting high, but I wasn't doing step work. I didn't get a sponsor right away. Only thing I was doing was going to meetings. And somewhere along the line, something clicked. And, you know, by the grace of God, I can say that I am a first-time winner. That I scared myself so bad that I never picked back up. That's the only thing I cannot talk about is relapse. And that's strictly by the grace of God. And again, just like he said, I'm just one drink away, one joint away, or one bag of dope away. And I mean, I can go right back to I was when I quit. But once I did get a sponsor and I started working steps, I got honest. And here I am. When I was going to these meetings in Princeton, I didn't realize that if you ask questions, you can find meetings right near your house. So I drove to Princeton for 7 days, every day of the week, 7 days a week for the first 4 or 5 months that I was clean. I drove to Princeton, and then when I finally started opening up, I found out there was a meeting on Monday night, like a block down from my house. So when I went to that meeting, I found out there's meetings on Friday nights and Wednesday nights, and you know, all these other nights within a mile or two from my house. So I started getting involved, and I started doing step work. The meetings I started with when I first walked in, it was all young kids. They all had earrings sticking out of their nose and their lips. They had purple hair, and I'm going, there's no way in hell that these guys are going to teach me. But that's how I got clean, is I listened to these 21 years old, 22, 23 years old. I was 42 when I got clean. And these young kids are what taught me how to get clean.